Welcome to the Gloves Are Off Overtime Edition. I'm Moses Woldu. I'm joined by my co-host Greg Buchanan and our guest for this week, of course, Troy Winterhalt. You are a referee and part of the NSRBL champions, Lloydminster Twins Ball Club.
Glad to be here, Moses.
Excellent. Great to have you. And we're going to talk about guys that you'd want on your team, maybe, maybe not, depending on your GM caps right now. Dion Phaneuf. Chances are this guy could make some big money out there if he wanted to. He's getting up there. He's in his, early 30s? It's not bad, but he wants a long-term contract, and I think Dave Nonis says, you know what, we have no problem with that, but we can't give you X amount of dollars. You might have to take a pay cut because they have to sign guys like Dave Boland. They have a couple good guys on their team that they need to rely on. But what do you guys say? Do you sign, and is he worth a long-term contract, Mr. Phaneuf?
I think they need to re-sign him. I just think he brings a big presence on the blue line for them, and I think guys with that type of presence are hard to replace. He's not a Zdeno Chara by no means, but he's got that physical presence. Guys are going to have their heads up when they're coming down the ice, just the chance that he's on the ice. So, I think he enjoys playing in Toronto, and I think he wants to be there. I think they need to re-sign him. So.
It's hard. I mentioned I was in his early 30s. I want to say late 20s. He's 28 years old.
Yeah.
So does that maybe change your mind a little bit?
No, it's so hard to find good stay-at-home defenseman that can eat a lot of minutes for you. That's good, physical, tough guy. Isn't a defensive liability. That means he's very strong at his own end. They're hard to find, and if you get one, then you got to hold on to him. You just got to hope that he takes a pay cut. Shut up, Phaneuf, as Scotty Hartnell like to say. But at the same time, he's a good, solid hockey player. I'm not a huge fan of his, but at the same time, again, hard to find defensemen like him.
Okay, so if the price was right, you would sign him to a long-term contract.
I wouldn't break the bank for him, but if you get the deal and the deal's right, then you'd sign him.
What would you say about Marty Erat asking for another trade? He's only got about 6 points this season, is averaging 4.5 per. Do you guys, if you restructured his contract, is he worth having on your team? Things didn't work out in Washington. He's bumped to the fourth line. His minutes been reduced. He's not having fun. He doesn't feel like he fits in.
Again, I just feel like he's another one of those spoiled European players. And, some of those guys, if things just don't go their way, they look to bail. Instead of trying to make the situation better, they just, I want to go someplace else. But, somebody will pick him up. It'll get partway through the season due to injuries or other
Well, they're
going to
have to ask the Washington Capitals to bite into that contract.
Yeah.
Because I don't think at $4.5 million, he's only averaging 6 assists at this point in about 20-plus games.
Why would you sign him to that, first of
all?
Well,
it was the Preds who did it. The Preds signed him, and they required him in a trade last year.
Yeah.
For Philip Forsberg.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a bad move by the Capitals to bring him in, first of all. Martin Erat was a heck of a hockey player when he played in the Western Hockey League. And I believe he won a Memorial Cup in Red Deer. Played a little bit in Saskatoon before that. But I just, you know what?
He wasn't bad in his early days.
No, not in his early days. But at the same time, he's another one that there's so many of those kind of players out there that are skilled but not high skilled. He's kind of medium skilled. So he's too much for $4 million.
Okay, guys. Now, if you were a head coach or a player and you were on the Washington Redskins roster, you have your quarterback, your franchise guy, in Robert Griffin III. Now, there are talks that, and reports, I should say, that he's told coaches not to show any negative plays that he made, any mistakes he made during film session. Does this seem a little absurd coming from a guy who's in his sophomore year? And if this is really the case, are we seeing the true RG3? He seems like a very insecure man.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's happened there ever since the knee injury. He was looking real good, and then ever since the knee injury, things have kind of went sideways there, with all different kinds of things. But, as a quarterback, you are the guy, and, you need some constructive criticism at times to get better. And, I like to look at Cam Newton. He was having trouble in the beginning, and, he was, talking lots and stuff, and then he just shut up and played football, and look at them now. They're doing really well. And I think RG3's got to do that too. You're a professional, so act like a professional and just play the game.
You know what? Kind of relate to the CFL, to RG3 in Washington, to Darian Durant in Saskatchewan. Darian took a lot of criticism off the field from the fans, took criticism in the media, and really he talked about going in early and watching game tape and looking at all the mistakes that he has made, and it made him a whole lot better quarterback. How do you get better if you don't see your mistakes and you're not pointed out to your mistakes? Just like us, you know, in any job you do, if you continue to make that mistake time and time again, and you don't want people to tell you're making a mistake, you're not going to go anywhere.
All right, very quickly, we're going to end this off here. Simple yes or no. Kobe Bryant, $48 million extension, 48.5 for 2 seasons, 23.5 his first year, final year, making 25, making him the richest player, the highest paid player in the NBA at 35 years old. Right move by the LA Lakers? Yes or no?
Yes.
Too old, but they have to. They have to. He's the face of the franchise. You can't let him go. He can't play for anybody else but the Lakers.
All right. Well, you know what? Speaking of faces of the franchise, Greg, as always, thank you.
Well, that's
Appreciate
a
you.
face, though.
Your words, not mine. So I'm keeping it that way. Troy, pleasure having you on. Good luck to you, of course, doing some refereeing this week as well, and the games coming up.
Right on. Thanks a lot.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us on the overtime edition of Gloves. You could also tune in every Tuesday night, 7:30 on CITL, and catch us back here on the Facebook page. So then you will actually see some of the questions that didn't get answered that week. Until then, we will see you in 7 days.